What's poppin', soul? I just want to speak to you briefly about what I spoke to you about yesterday. The main important thing that I witnessed in God's creation and consciousness is that God never lets things take you by surprise, soul. No one, if you're chosen, I'll say that if you're chosen and you've been living in the life of God, you've been following what God has been showing you, by your faith, by your interaction of your first mind, the pineal gland coming online, I discovered if you witness God, you don't just put him in a tunnel vision, and as I, throughout my years of living experience in faith, questioning, wanting to know all about just God, it all led back to the women. So the women that birthed us to come through here, speak what we speak, be the foot soldiers for change. So all my life I've been talking to, men about how to become a better man. I've been going to church, how to be a better Christian man. I've been going to groups and how to be better in a marriage when I was married, at the time. Just how to be a better soul of experience in a spirit, to have a quality of life, perfected by God, choices and solutions that I know that I'm the choice that God chose to take this particular path that I'm on of awakening, right? Along my line of talking to men, I never heard one man that I met say this phrase. Now, men, you can agree or disagree, but I know in my life experience, I never heard him say, if I had a went by my first mind. So, I never heard a man say that, to be honest. So, I know everything starts in the spark of life, of creation. It starts with women. It starts with women, being the tunnel, the channel, the nurturing, the wisdom, the matriarchal, the financial planner, the financial holder, the lover of your soul, as a God, consciousness in the earth and the feminine, feminine masculine. So once I saw God throughout my life, out of a tunnel vision of Christian, so out of my counseling session, driving many miles to Atlanta, talking to several, even my mentor who was married at the time, and I was going through divorce. Women, my mother, God bless her soul in life, not being here in the 3D realm, but always here in the eternal. My mother married. We didn't have the same conversation that she would have with my other two siblings and sisters. And I wanted all my life, while our conversations were like they were. Now that she's transcended and I'm still getting the vibrations of the conversation that we had all our lives, I knew that she could not give me the part of the first mind, the pineal gland of opening of the what we wouldn't go into, because it was sort of demonic back at that time, when I was searching for spiritual things. So when you go beyond your spirit, beyond what you've known, beyond what you've seen, beyond what you taught, even from your parents and your elders, no matter where you are, God is exposing himself to you or itself to you in all capacities so that you know that there's going to be change in your future or near future, which is always with you during your time in life, during your transitioning in life. So going back to my mother, having all of those conversations, those deep conversations that I thought was very hard on me, it was for a time as this. So I appreciate, those conversations now. I appreciate those long talks, and I appreciate all the walking and the prayer and the sustenance that she given me for a recognition of now that it was always in the training from the mother. So a part of God that men, nurture. It started from the real. To say, if you're a Christian, if you're a biblical, biblical starter, you start back in Adam and Eve in the garden, said that he pulled woman out of man. So pulled woman out of the man. Now, I won't spoil that for y'all, that are in Christendom and that are going to church, and are in ministry and that's being taught to you. Because if you're chosen, you have to know that mother comes out of the womb of mother. Therefore, God being what? Mother and father. The consciousness being mother and father. But we're actually birthed where? Through the womb of a mother. God ain't taking no more ribs out of men. You haven't seen that duplicated anymore. Written, in history of mankind. The only thing that mankind is doing is what I told you, test tube baby, trying to catch up with God, and in this time, and God is being revealed through the understanding of the matriarch of the women. So men, we are getting in line. I'm getting online. I'm understanding now all of the player mode. You know what I'm saying? We in the player mode. Degrade women, get our rocks off. Misusing and abuse of our love and power of attraction towards the melanated women or towards any woman, period in general. So we would listen to other men who would usurp their visions on how we should treat one another in relationship. The house has been divided a long time ago. So, when feminine rights. And we were thinking that women would have rights to be activated, sufficient in themselves, doing for themselves, answering solutions for themselves, God consciousness operating in the feminine, right? But also, so back then there was a book that divided them, that divided all women, took the man out of the house. If you're not on welfare, if your man's not working a job, you're on welfare, he got to get out of the house in order for you to get service from the government. Get him out of there, you know what I'm saying? So you break up the home. And that was mostly in the melanated population. So now in 2026, women want their men back in the houses. So to understand that there have to be matriarch and patriarch, they want to nurture the factors of love that God has given them. So with the first mind belonging to the land, right? Because men, understand this, in order for you to go forward, all men, you have to come back to remember yourself as the light soul. Because all that has been taught to you throughout history, throughout mankind, governmental program, all has been taught to destroy you. And you always come through, men, no matter what your ethnicity is, no matter what you think your color, creed, or background is, somehow, men, you come through as you. Stronger, better than what the situation tried to tell you that you were, man. And then, if you had a woman, someone that God gifted you. Notice I said someone that God gifts to you. Yeah, God ain't about to give you 10 or 12 women, so because then, it's all out of order, chaotic. You can't even center yourself if you got 3 or 4 or 5, 2 and 3 or 4 women, even 2, because one lady with all of the God that she has in her can change and impact your life, your homie's life, their family's life, whoever he's with. This one woman, orchestrated, concentrated in God. First mind. Just in that little simple, example of how women really are and the power that they have. So I'm going to continue to go in the flow of God. Y'all to go in the flow of consciousness of God. This time around, y'all, 2026 and beyond, women continue to stand in your places, continue to stand 10 toes down, teach and reach us, all the men that are chosen and collected, and those who are not, reach back, give the knowledge to them, It was said that, the older women, the matriarch, was supposed to pass down the knowledge to the younger women. That was blocked. So that was blocked by social media and society. Now we're taking that back, women. And I thank y'all for teaching, the younger generation, the younger, what we call not ratchet. The doctors and the lawyers, the preachers, like I say, the real preachers, to tell the truth. The gospel is the truth that frees. They're women, and I know some powerful women that do that. I have a powerful one in my life, a very powerful one in my life, and I appreciate God for every chance I get. You know what I'm saying? This is Shantavian Payne. I'm going to rock with y'all next transmission. Women, thank you for the first mind. Thank you, God, for opening me up to that transmission of that. Y'all women, We're going to change the world through and by y'all. We've been doing it a long time. It will be televised, y'all saying? Go women, go do what y'all do. For sure. I rock with y'all when I rock with y'all. It's Shantae the Pansy. Let's see.